the power. You're literally my best friend. I just want you to know that. Because last night I was sitting there thinking, Carter, I just consumed my first cold beverage of the night. And I was like, if the Pelicans win because Carter the Power Bryant is in the building, I'm going to lose my mind. Hey, game. Jose. Before we get to some LSU, which we're going to talk a lot of LSU, my God, what an electric atmosphere last night.
Yeah, I mean, so my dad's a big Pelicans fan, so he goes to a bunch of games, and I was lucky enough to tag along with, there's nothing better than consuming sports with your dad. Obviously, Blake, I know you're very close with your long line of baseball coaches, and my dad grew up on the NBA, and he's been very lucky to work in sports, and, we were very lucky to get to sit in the blender last night, and I was able to go to the Spurs game. It was great, but what was really interesting is just the dichotomy of Chris Paul, who used to carry our franchise, going up against his teammate. It's just such a great series. I'm just happy that we have guys on our team that wants to be there, and I'm glad that New Orleans is a basketball city. So, Blake, I'm feeling great about life. How are you, my friend?
Well, here's how. Let me just tell you what I was screaming at the TV last night. Don't tell me about Louisiana and what we're willing to do, because if you're winning, it don't matter. Right? Like, people are going. You mean to tell me that people in New Orleans aren't going to pack the blender for the playoffs? I mean, it's just a social thing at that point. I mean, anyway, but I think they take the series. I'm going out on a limb. I think Chris Paul's too old. Okay, I think if you get it to 7, he's not gonna finish. Just a bold prediction. But let's see what happens with Devin Booker. But nevertheless, Carter, I still think that they win. What do you think before we get to LSU?
What's interesting in a 7-game series, it's very important to have someone that can get their shot whenever they want. And Brandon Ingram's that guy. So the craziest thing is Mikal Bridges is like one of the best defensive players I've ever seen. I was lucky to get to see Meta World Peace, and I've never seen such like a physically dominant human being. I was like, if this guy played football, he would be Reggie White. But like,
could you imagine running out in the stands and trying to fight him too? By the way, #Pacers.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, if Mikal Bridges played football, he would be one of the most unstoppable jump ball receivers. And what's crazy about it is Brandon Ingram could still get a shot on him whenever he wants. And
that dunk last night was fierce.
It was insane. It was insane. And it's crazy how long the Pelicans are. It's crazy. It is a little bit of old school bully ball, how they start such a big lineup with Jones and Hayes and Valanciunas. None of those 3 guys are like 3-point shooters, where you watch a Warriors and Nuggets series, everybody could shoot the 3. So it's obviously a lot of fun. And obviously the bigger macro story is, I don't understand why Zion Williamson doesn't want to play with these guys, right? It doesn't make any sense. Like, take New Orleans out of the equation. Let's just say this game, let's just say he was on a team in Oklahoma City or just wherever. Like, the Pelicans are a perfect team to build around. Best young coach, great atmosphere, no legendary star in our franchise that is known for that franchise. And I know people here want to hear me talk about LSU football, but one thing really quickly as a New Orleans basketball fan, Blake, it's very interesting when you think of all the great players in modern era New Orleans professional basketball. Every player that's been great with the Pelicans is, or the Hornets, is known for playing for another team, right? Chris Paul is more known for Los Angeles and Phoenix than New Orleans. Anthony Davis is more known for the Lakers. And even Peja Stojakovic is known more for the Kings and the Hornets, whoever you want to mention. There's never been a guy that has cemented his career in New Orleans and is known for playing basketball in New Orleans. So, I mean, maybe Mashburn and a few others, but still, Zion could be that guy. And CJ and BI are bought in. I'm feeling great about it. But anyway, Blake, I know we got to talk about LSU football. Let's go.
All right. Well, I think BI is going to be that guy.
Let's go.
Okay, that's my. I don't think it's going to be Zion. I'm going to take BI. Carter the Power Bryant joins us. Carter, I sent you a picture today I love, I don't comment a lot. I don't talk a lot, but your film breakdown of the spring game, the biggest thing for me, okay, now I'm biased a little in talking about the offensive line.
Yeah.
Carter, net yards, they rushed for over 300 net. Okay,
Yeah.
taking out the sacks and all that kind of stuff. Brother, they were, after a quarter and a half, they started moving people. When you were breaking down the film, watching them against that good defensive line, I say that I give them, I say they're the most improved unit. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So Blake, this is what's fun about football, right? And you preach this on your channel. You're talking about this before I came on. The quarterback battle, it changes day by day. So what was interesting to me was for the entire spring, we are talking about how Will Campbell changed the offensive line, right? Yesterday, he had a rough start, right? So the Armani Goodwin touchdown, 9-yard run, he got away with a
It was a
hold.
hold.
Yeah,
Right.
it was a hold. And then he got beat a few times or gave up a little bit more pressure than he was accustomed. But what was interesting, and this is why football is the ultimate team game, was Shorts and Frazier had really good days. So
Huge.
this is what makes offensive line play really tough to evaluate, right? When your best player, which has been Campbell, just based on what we've seen, right? When that guy struggles, are there other people that can lift you up? And Shorts and Frazier did that. They were really, really good. I thought
I
Charles Turner
agree.
held up fine. Obviously, the center snaps have got to get more consistent.
Agreed.
And at right tackle, something else. Cardell had a really good day. Cardell had a really good day. So, yeah, I mean, the offensive line played really well. They really did. They started slow. It was very sloppy. Obviously, Fitzgerald West had a rough day. He's a true freshman. I mean, that's just how it's going to be. But overall, as the game moved on, they were the best unit on the field, period. And
No doubt.
that was a pleasant surprise, and you should feel pretty good about that. Now, as Brian Kelly mentioned in the post-game press conference, they weren't stunning as much. A defensive line, this, that, and the third. I get it, but still, they opened up holes. They moved bodies, and that's obviously a really good sign.
So Carter, here was my hot take of the day. Okay, as I'm sitting there watching your film, God forbid Brian Kelly get this offensive line figured out. Like seriously,
Yeah.
God forbid. Okay, because if you do have serious weapons in Louisiana you can go and get. Whether it be Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, hell, Russell Gage can be your fourth guy. Chris Hilton's their fifth guy right now.
It's crazy.
Carter. Like, right? Like, it's scary. Here's the scarier part for me. God willing, nobody transfers. You have Anthony Bradford that wasn't there. You have Garrett Dellinger that wasn't there. You have Marlon Martinez that wasn't there. They got some depth, brother.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm trying not to talk myself into 9 wins, but when you see it, how did you feel? Did you see that this team, like, oh shit, this team could get to 9 wins? Like when you were breaking it down, how did that make you feel?
Yeah, so to me, and this was something that I said last time, and I just want to reiterate this point because I am not so I get a lot of compliments for the film study, deeply appreciate it, but this is the most important thing. I did not play or coach at a high level. So
yeah, but you know what you're talking about. I mean, it's 101. Like,
so if I were to simply state film study, the most important thing whenever you rewatch a game is how much of what happened had to do with that player doing something special. So, in other words, it's not so much what happened, it's how it happened. Okay. So, for me, the biggest takeaway was Brian Kelly. If you listen really closely to his press conferences, he's always going to, he doesn't hide anything hardly. And he said the big thing in the press conference was we didn't call any different types of defenses. So it obviously made it a lot easier for the offense.
they called one zone and it got blown and they stopped calling.
Right. That's it. That's it. So for me, yes, the wide receivers had a good day, but they should have, right? Because the quarterbacks knew what coverage they were running. A lot of the passing game yesterday came down to what I like to call 2-for-1s, right? If you know you're running man
Correct.
coverage, You run a receiver at 1 DB, and it's kind of like a screen and roll in basketball, right? So the quarterback should have had a good day. The receiver should have had a good day. One guy that really stood out to me, though, was Mekhi Gardner, right? I've heard different things about him during the camp, obviously. And Jarek Bernard Converse goes out. So he gets beat on that deep pass to BTJ. Well, he was right there. He actually just barely missed out on batting that football away.
Right.
I thought he was fine. I thought he looked really good. So obviously, the two biggest position groups that Blake, you've been talking about, I've been talking about, offensive line, they look better. The secondary, we'll see, right? The Sage Ryan touchdown he gave up at the end, that was bad luck. I mean, sometimes you give up a
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Yeah,
Right.
you made a good point. It should have been intercepted. So, you know, the secondary, we'll see how that continues to move along. But I don't want anyone out there to think any less of the secondary. Yes, they were playing a lot of walk-ons, but the coverages that they were playing should have been beaten deep a lot, which is what happened. A lot of it were those 2-for-1s where Garrett knew what they were going to do. And that doesn't take away. It's just a harsh reality of what happened in that game.
So, Carter, my last point, and I think where we'll spend most of our time, and we really can't help it at this point. Look, because I think, Carter, you have pieces all over the place offensively that you could be in a situation where you could be a quarterback away, right? Like, because you have those pieces. When I went back and watched it, I don't think Garrett had as good of a day as I originally thought. Multiple times he put balls in places that he can't do that against Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida State. He can't do that. It's going the other way. Yeah. And the one to Derek Davis is going to be a pick six if he's not careful.
Yeah.
But I thought Jaden did better than I originally thought. And I thought Miles did better than I originally when I first saw it. But you said the key thing in the film study, when you know what they're running and you know that you're a man-to-man, you're damn right I'm going to hit the wheel route. Yeah. You're damn right I'm going to hit the back out of the flat. You're damn right I'm going to hit the corner when you're running a mesh concept. Do you take anything away, though, from the quarterbacks behind this because of that?
So let's use an analogy here, right? You're a big baseball guy. I don't talk baseball on my channel. I know we talked a lot of basketball.
Boo!
I'm just not smart enough, right? I didn't. It wasn't. I grew up a Jeter and Rivera guy, and then when they retired, I was like, it's not as interesting. I
revert the boo because you said that comment. I revert the boo, but continue.
Yeah, those are my two favorites. But just use an analogy, right? So in baseball, if you go early to a game and you watch batting practice, right, and you see these mammoth human beings hitting the ball out of the ballpark, it's really impressive, right? That's why you go early to a baseball game. But they're hitting the ball out of the ballpark because the guy's throwing straight fastballs, right? They know what's happening. It's a warm-up. That's essentially what the spring game was. What Garrett Nussmeier did was very impressive. But when you play man coverage every time, it's kind of like batting practice, right? Where it's the most simplistic form of defense, kind of like a batting practice. A fastball right down the middle is the most simplistic form of pitching, right? You have changeups, you have sliders, you have knuckleballs, you have this reliever, that reliever. That's what actual games are like, right? Mm-hmm. So that was, to me, the biggest thing. So you mentioned Garrett Nussmeier, 2 interceptable passes, right? The second one to start, they did a rollout to the right, and it should have been picked. There was a deflection, and they actually moved Jay Ward before the snap into the box. So once again, when they actually mixed some stuff up, Garrett wasn't as good. With that said, this was a point that I consistently made. If you strip the jersey numbers, your prior knowledge of all the quarterbacks, and you just watch the drills and just the basic stuff, Garrett Nussmeier looks the best. He really does when it comes to just throwing the football. And another thing, the intangibles, right? I'm not a huge, this guy has more intangibles than this guy. But I will say this. The team does gravitate towards him.
He's got the locker room.
Yeah, I've once again, you can't take too much away because I'm not in that building every day, right? I do know some people that are. Just from what I've gathered, people love him. People love him, right? And look, Jack Best said it. So I interviewed Jack Bash and I asked him a bunch of questions about Walker Howard, and then I asked him about Garrett Nussmeier. It's like, oh yeah, Garrett Nussmeier is one of my really good friends, and you could just see all the receivers have a good rapport with them because you can't just walk out there and throw dimes if you don't have a rapport with somebody.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
And one more thing about Nuss, right? So if you go back and watch the actual game footage of him last year, he could put the ball in a bucket. It was some of the most amazing incompletions you'll ever see, right? And that's because his accuracy is so good. He can make a lot of throws. So the Jure drop, right? In all actuality, he should have hit Malik on the out, right? It was wide open. It was an easier throw. But
Agreed.
Garrett, and this was the case he had in all his games last year. He had other opportunities to hit more open guys, but he always tried to hit that deep ball. The funny thing about the deep ball is every single deep ball basically he threw last year was very accurate. It just never got brought down because it was extremely difficult catches. So as far as Garrett Nussmeier, I know it's a very complex thing, but until you actually see what an actual defensive coordinator is going to throw at you in the game. And we saw this last year. He was going up against Barry Odom, who's been arguably the best defensive coordinator in the SEC since he's been at Arkansas. Barry got him. I mean, Barry really had him in a tizzy after, he had some early success. So it's a lot more complex than just watching him light up a defense when the coverages were very simple.
Right. And Carter, this was the interesting stat on Garrett that I pulled. 1 for 7 on times where the defense adjusted pre-snap.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's something that, the thing. So to preface everything from what Carter said, I told Carter in the text earlier, I got a little something for you. That's the stat. Okay. The 1 for 7 on the adjusted movement before the play, the pre-snap movement, worries me a little bit. You know how I am about that small little wrinkle like that really throws me off. But I still think I agree with you. He was the best of the day. We can talk about the other 3 or other 2 at least. I'm not going to really talk much about Walker Howard. I don't think that it's right to even do. 3 plays give Miles Brennan the 99 yards. Very inefficient while being efficient, if that makes sense. Like, he had the completions, but they weren't efficient completions, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
So, but then Jane Daniels kind of got a little bit into the zone, had 3 or 4 drops, but his legs were massive. Where do you see Jaden or Miles in this scenario? What seems to be battling Garrett at this point?
Yeah, Jaden's accuracy what's a little erratic, right? So, we dropped our Jaden Daniels film study from earlier today, and he missed Kyron Lacey. Then Kyron dropped. We can get into the semantics of when the ball was on the money, you dropped it. When I was open, you didn't put it on the money. Look, Kyron Lacey is a very interesting player. He's not on the level of Jack Bech and Malik Neighbors. He's just not. Not many people are.
He's not.
Right? not many people are. So, look, I really like Jaden a lot. I really do think his throwing, obviously you could see him hit deep passes outside of that Mr. Kyron. All his deep throws were really good. They were really, really good. The commentator, Tom Luganbill, kept making this point, and he watches more Pac-12 football than I do, but I saw this when I was watching Jaden. The 7 to 10 yard stuff gets very sloppy, and that concerns me. That really does. All right. You got to get a little better. So, he had the deep ball to BTJ, right? And then he had the deep ball touchdown to Jack Bech. So his third completion was to Jure Jenkins, and Jure was open on a slant, and he threw it into the dirt, and Jure made a good diving catch. So instead of 1st and 10, it's 2nd and 1, right? So how are you on those intermediate throws? It's very key. So that's going to be his next step. But obviously, just coming to Baton Rouge a month ago and just meeting all these guys, looks like this quarterback room is close. uh, that's obviously a really good thing as well. So we'll see. And obviously, like the big question is going to be if Jaden is not the guy, do you still play him in a 2 QB system? We'll see. So it should be really fascinating.
I don't see how you can't put him on the field, Carter.
Yeah.
Look, I know I get labeled when I say something like that, but buddy, I mean, I don't know. One play that I did like, and I think that they let fly, okay, that they probably didn't want to. Do you remember the Jane Daniels zone read touchdown? The real RPO. So
The alligator, the one with
the Ali Gay
yeah.
one. Okay. Trips left, Cole Taylor in the slot. Okay. You can either give it, you can either pull it and take it, which he did, or you got a screen to Cole Taylor.
Yeah.
Jay Ward, okay, comes down and takes Cole Taylor. Ali Gay takes the running back. He goes in for the touchdown. Carter, that's the real offense that they're running.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's what I feel. We didn't see many RPOs, but when we did, they were pretty efficient, quick, getting out to the receivers. Did you notice anything about with that or any of the RPO stuff?
Yeah, and I think Denbrock likes that stuff. And part of the reason why Denbrock likes it is because the minimal success that Cincinnati had on Alabama was a lot of this, go one way, go the other, right? And you have to have a mobile quarterback to do that kind of stuff, to stretch out ends and find little gaps. So yeah, I mean, I could see you getting excited about that. I get excited about it too. I really do, right? Because
Carter, I jumped.
Seriously. Yeah, it's great.
And here's the reason they went to Cole Taylor, right? Like the play is designed for a Cole Taylor touchdown. It's not designed for Jane Daniels touchdown. They want to get the ball to 87. I'm telling you, there's something there. You're going to call me. You're going to come on here. Listen, Carter, on September the 5th, 2022, you're going to come on the show. This is what you're going to say. Blake, you called it. And I'm going to be like, you god dang right I did. Something to watch. I'm sticking to that gun. Carter the Power Bryant joining us. Zachy, fire in some of the questions for Carter. They're firing in here. They're dropping like it's hot, like a drop pass in a spring football game. Doug Ray. God, I shouldn't have said that. But hashtag Ask Carter. But remember, all the QBs knew the same information. I don't know what that really means. Is that something that you had said earlier?
No. I see the point he's saying. He said all the QBs had the same defenses, okay, that they were going up against.
Right.
And they actually did run basically the same plays.
All of them.
So for instance, like Garrett hit Trey in the flat for a huge pass. Miles did the same thing to Goodwin. They did that a lot. I actually just took it off my dry erase board. But they ran a lot of mesh as well, which is very interesting. It's a Mike Leach air raid staple. They ran basically the same plays, right? So the ball to Malik that Garrett threw, that was just perfect. I mean, you couldn't have thrown the football any better. Was the same play that Miles hit Malik on the circus touchdown. So the offenses were very similar, but that's the thing. Garrett executed it at a higher level. One major defense of Miles, though, was so much chaos happened that was out of his control. 3rd and 1 stuff, that's out of his control. Snap over his head, that's out of his control. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't write off Miles Brennan just yet, but Nuss clearly had the better day.
All right. I agree wholeheartedly with you. Zach, what's another one? Chance Babin says, hashtag Ask Carter, how much can you read into evaluating the spring game that is so vanilla? Carter, I got to be honest. Outside of formations and what they're doing, I don't buy too much into it, but I will buy into some of the quarterback play. What about you?
Yeah, same thing. I think you can think of it as well. If you want to get really deep and philosophical, because look, Blake, you got a big audience, man. And I know there's a few conspiracists out there, some conspiracy music. Think of the ET music playing in the background of your ears right now. Okay, look at that. I love that. So this is 4D chess, right? Brian Kelly wanted to run very simplistic defenses, so all the quarterbacks had good days, which would make them stick around. If you want to get really down and dirty, and it makes a lot of sense, right? If you're Garrett Nussmeyer, you're feeling good about yourself, and you should, right? Just saying, you just got to throw it out there. So for me, that's my biggest takeaway. And
So are you saying you think that they did things for Garrett so he wouldn't transfer?
I think they did it for all the quarterbacks. I really do, right? And also part of the reason why I think the defenses were so simplistic was because of the format, right? It was so much easier for the
Oh,
defense to
no doubt.
score than the offense to score, knowing what the scoring system was like. And plus, people want to see points. People want to see points, right?
Dude,
So
I literally thought that LSU was going to get roasted, by the way, because somebody would take a screenshot at the end and like say the defense scored 107 points, right? And be
yeah,
like, how does LSU's all Brian? Oh, see, we knew Brian Kelly, the SEC, can't even 6-7 LSU can't even win that. You know, like I thought we had a Vanderbilt on our hands.
right.
How did Vanderbilt not win their own spring game, by the way? 32-32.
32-32, baby. Gotta love it,
Oh,
man.
God, that's so aggravating. But I think it's interesting you talk about that with Garrett. You know what else? Here's my biggest conspiracy theory. Why didn't you see Walker Howard with the ones? I get the red shirting thing. Like legitimately, I get it. Okay, but you didn't give him a shot like you gave everybody else a shot. And Dante Moore was in the building. So does Dante Moore want to be behind Walker Howard? See, like those are some small conspiracy theories.
Dude, you are feisty tonight, Blake. Calm down. I thought I was going to be dropping that conspiracy
Theories.
mojo, but God, I like that, man. And look, if you want to look at this from a macro perspective, recruiting weekend, you couldn't beat Joe, Jamar, Terrace, and those guys. Well, not Terrace, but Joe, Justin, Clyde, Thad, and those guys on the. I mean, those are icons, right? So, but I like that, man. I like the Dante Moore deep thought right there. Huh?
Hey, look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I watch UFO stuff on YouTube all the time. Firing the Jake, Zach, firing the big Jake Cole question right there. The hashtag Ask Carter. He says hashtag Ask Carter. Where do you think Harold Perkins falls in the linebacker rotation based off of what we know now? Carter, I'm going to spin this one a little bit to you.
Yeah.
Me and you alike because I watch your show religiously too. Micah Baskerville. Right, we've gotten a lot of questions about Baskerville, but all of a sudden, here comes Greg Penn from the great state of Maryland. And Carter, quite honestly, there were times that I was like, good googly moogly, this is why this kid's playing, along with Mike Jones.
Love it.
So, what do you think about that rotation? Just Harold Perkins is not day one starter, right? I mean, like, it's going to take him a little time, you think, or are you there? Or is Harold Perkins that day one guy?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is trying to figure out what's his best position. Nobody knows. I honestly don't. Here's something that we tend to forget as fans. Sometimes the coaches don't know yet. And to go even one step further, sometimes the player doesn't know yet, right? If you're Harold Perkins and you dominated every high school game you played in at running back, I mean, there's probably a piece of you that says, am I even playing on the right side of the football? You know, it's nuts how unbelievable and cartoonishly good he was at football in high school. So, you know, I think the bigger question for Jacob Cole is off-ball linebacker the position he's going to play. I don't think it is. I really don't. I
agree.
I think what Marcel Brooks did as a true freshman is what they're going to try and do with Harold Perkins. Just get him on the field and let's see what he can do.
Last one from me, because you've graced us with your presence. I don't think you can keep Xavier Carter off the field.
He had a good day.
At this point, that's a guy that I've been kind of banging the drum on and for. I don't want him on third down, but at the same time, he can contain on Amari Goodwin on the third down or third and goal, and Will Campbell held him.
Yeah.
Carter, I don't know what you do, but you have the pieces, which again continues for me to see that this team's going to win 9 games.
Right.
So we'll see. But who is outside of quarterback, is there one person that stood out to you that were like, all right, man, this kid has had a great offseason? Was there anybody like that for you?
Yeah, I think the Arkansas transfers kind of cemented themselves. Obviously, they're very experienced and they're very hungry, right, to get this opportunity to play for LSU. Right? They were with a good defensive coordinator. They were with a good defense. They were with other great defensive backs in their secondary, and they still decided to come to LSU. So they obviously had a really good camp. They had their hits and misses at Arkansas, but I think Joe and Greg are going to be really good players for LSU. I also think, Blake, this player is going to be very interesting for me. It is Shorts, right? There were some days where you would see him in camp and be like, yeah, he's getting used to it, but he had a good day. It's tough going up against Mason Smith a lot, right? So that's it. And then, it goes back to center, right? Who is the center going to be? They have to figure that out. Turner, I thought was fine, but, it's not just the center, Blake. It's who the backup center is going to be.
You took the words out of my mouth, dude.
Yeah, it wasn't that Liam was bad, right? Everyone in here likes Liam Shanahan. That he played as hard as he did and all that good stuff. It was that you didn't have another option ready to go, right? Mm-hmm. Where it was painfully obvious that they needed to try someone else at this very critical position. You're only touching the ball on every snap. That's it. You're not doing anything important at all. Hashtag sarcasm. You've got to find that guy. That guy has got to be a dude. He doesn't have to be special. He's just got to be a dude, right? You just got to find someone that commands that room, and whoever that may be is going to be key for LSU next year.
I'll say this: if they can get Fitzgerald West up and ready to go as quickly as possible with the snaps, look. I like me some Fitzgerald West now. The kid's growing on me. Kid's growing on me. I just gotta say that. All right, Carter the Power. You've been fantastic as always. Tell everybody. I know they already know where to go because you're so well loved. But where can they go to follow all of your stuff?
Power Hour LSU. That's all you got to do. Go to YouTube. Power Hour LSU. I'm not on all these different platforms, man. You're worldwide, baby. I love it. You got the Facebookers. But man, LSU Facebook can be ruthless.
Oh, dude.
I'm scared of Facebook. I am doing more Power Hour LSU stuff on Twitter. So at Power Hour LSU is somewhere else. You could find me on Twitter. The only reason I'm starting to get bigger on Twitter is I'm trying to get Elon to give me a Tesla. So that's the only reason. That's the only reason.
If he verifies AYS on Twitter, I swear to God, I will buy 2 Teslas for me and my wife in cash. You think I'm playing? If he verifies me within the next 48 hours, I will buy $60,000 worth of vehicles in cash.
Man, get those blue check marks, baby. Let's go. So,
see, Carter, y'all think I be playing. I ain't playing, bro. I'm not playing, dude. I'll do it right now in the blink of an eye. You know how serious I am? Joe Burrow's 60 touchdown 2019 series. That's how serious I am.
Ooh. That's serious.
Like,
goodness.
Hey, did you see Joe Burrow with the grill in, by the way? Did you see that?
Well, let me see your grill. You want to see
looking like Paul Wall.
Look at
Anyway.
But,
all right.
But yeah, that's good, man.
I love you, my brother. We'll let's see what happens tomorrow in Phoenix. Give me the Pels.